during that time, there was a lot of sort of challenges personally as well in terms of that. So it was the balance that was needed to be in line with my divine. Actually rhymes. But anyway.
Yes. Yeah, rapper now.
But I think in the public sector, being certified, it sets you apart from your peers. There's a whole lot of benefits of holding certifications in that perspective as well. So I would encourage all of the auditors to help us in professionalizing the intern audit profession, is to join a professional body and have obtained the certifications as well.
Welcome to INbrief, the podcast for internal auditors. My name is Matlhogonolo Matlaisane, and I have my co-host here, Lwandile. Oh, do you want to introduce yourself?
No, it's fine. You're doing well. I was waiting for you to pronounce my surname.
Oh, you caught me there.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lwandile Mkanyelwa. It's good to have you again. Tlhori, how are you doing?
I am well, and you?
I'm very well, thank you.
In this public sector forum?
Yes.
I'm enjoying myself. It's very insightful. Learning a lot.
It's amazing.
Yes. And if you can see the list of speakers,
Yep.
the caliber of the speakers.
Yes.
I would encourage.
Top notch.
Top notch.
Top notch. Esteemed speakers.
Esteemed speakers. I would encourage auditors to actually attend these conferences.
Yeah,
especially
certainly.
the ones now it's focused in the public sector.
Yeah.
But we have also the national conference that is coming up. So I encourage people to just come in and learn, be a sponge,
Yeah.
soak yourself in these learnings. But
Indeed.
it's not only the two of us.
Yes.
It looks like it's the two of us having this conversation, talking about the public sector forum. But no, we are not here because of that. With me, I have Jean-Pierre Rossouw. JP is serving as the CAE in a municipality in the Western Cape. He has over 15 years auditing and risk management experience. And of these 15 years, 10 years, he's got a managerial experience as a CAE level within the local government. He holds a master's degree in internal audit, postgraduate diploma in general internal audit, postgraduate diploma in certified internal audit, postgraduate diploma in public administration. So he is very educated.
Sure.
And he is a CIA. He's a certified internal auditor, principal certified internal auditor, professional internal auditor, as well as certified government auditing professional. He has been named not only once, twice, as the winner of the Institute of Internal Auditors South African Internal Auditor of the Year Award for 2020 and 2023. So he was the Internal Auditor of the Year in COVID times. You can imagine.
I wish we had audience here. They would go.
Stand up.
This is just magnificent, right?
I know. And that's not only his award.
What?
Yes. He has also won the Young Internal Auditor of the Year for the year 2016. He has been named as the top professional internal auditor graduate for 2018, still with the IIA SA. Say, how do you feel about it?
It's humbling to hear those words, and thanks for the introduction as well.
Oh, I am not even done. You know, this is how I want you to be very humble. JP is currently serving as the chairperson of the Western Cape Municipal CAE Forum, and he is our esteemed director for the IIA SA Board of Directors.
Wow.
Yes, so he is here. Welcome, JP.
Thank you for having me.
It was a lot.
It was,
That was,
it was
by
a
the
lot.
way, that was a brief bio.
That's a brief one. Thanks so much. Actually, humbling experience to actually listen to those words in the journey. So thanks for that, and thanks for having me.
Thank
The
you.
first question that comes to my mind while listening to Chloe, you look young. When did you get
But
all these things?
Yeah, you see, it takes balance and time if you want to
Yes.
achieve things. So you
And
need
a
to
lot
have
of
the correct
discipline, I
balance.
imagine.
Yeah, definitely. If someone want to go party and I need to study, I study.
Oh, wow.
It's about priority in terms of that. So you can see
Yes.
how the planning goes.
Oh, awesome.
I think as a young person watching this interview, that's inspiration. I can tell you that. That's like a young internal auditor.
I'm inspired myself, as young as I am.
Of course. Of course. Next year, this year you're getting the young internal auditor award. You know?
Oh, wow.
I want to break the ice.
Okay.
How are you feeling about it? Do you want us to break this ice or to...
Let's break it.
Love it. Love it. So if you are from George, right?
Yeah.
If you were given a role in that disaster where the building fell, if you did not have to come here, you are the gift of the givers or anybody, if you are a nurse or what role would you have chosen and why?
I think, firstly, thanks for the question. I think it's a hard ice to break.
Yes.
It's a very unfortunate and tragic incident
Yeah.
that not only rocked our community,
Mm.
but I think it will be...
And it's a small community, by the way.
Yeah. So that's one of it. It's also the thing nationally
Dropped the
received
whole
international
Yeah.
in the test sort of attention as well. So it's actually it's very sad, and I think my thoughts and prayers goes out to the family and the victims and so forth in these trying times. I think if I would have been one of the guys that actually trying to break through.
Oh, like the rescuers.
Yeah, so I would be on site to sort of assist it and try and
Yeah.
retrieve as many of the colleagues that was in the building. So I would be one of the people on site doing the hard work in terms of that. If I would have a choice in terms of what I was playing.
Yeah.
Lwandile, what would you have been?
Oh, I probably would be counseling the families.
Really?
Because that's the ripple effect that people don't think about, right?
Yes, they do.
we think about the nitty-gritties of the colleagues and the people that are underneath, but there's a whole lot of damage that happens. I mean, there's people who lost their loved ones.
Traumatic.
Some people have their loved ones still trapped. They're still trying to save them, and it's been days now. So they're really going through the most. So I'll probably be looking at that aspect of it.
I
And
would
yourself?
definitely not be a counselor. If I were a counselor, I'd be crying with them. My friends know if you tell me your problem, to tell me that I must give you advice, and they start crying, I cry with them. So I would be...
Well, sometimes that's what people want. They just want you to cry with them, and that's it.
True. I would actually be the one that is making sure that people are the rescuers, the counselors. They're getting water. They're getting... You, obviously, in that situation, you don't have time to be sitting and eating, but getting some snacks, I would be encouraging the community actually to be donating these things like your snacks, your chocolate, just for energy, so that the people can keep on going. And when you have energy, you'll be able to dig, faster. Yeah. So I would be in the background, because if I'm the front line, you will be attending to me instead of the tragedy. What was the last thing you ate yesterday?
It was a dinner.
What was the dinner? Are you in a hotel?
Yeah, I'm in a hotel.
What was the dinner? You can tell us. It was rice, pap, one in one plate.
I was in the food court actually. It's just a steak and some veggies.
So you don't eat starch?
Eat
starch?
Not preferably in terms of that. Yeah.
We can learn a thing or two from him.
Yeah, certainly.
I know.
Certainly. It's not just the accomplishments, but the diet too.
I know. Learning a lot already.
Yes, indeed. So, JP, now that we've broken the ice, I think we're now settled.
Yeah.
We are good. We want to know you beside, I know you already have a lot of accomplishments, right? But we want to know you personally. Who is JP? What do you do? How did you grow up? We want to know that background. You as a teenager, what community do you come from? And all of that. What do you enjoy the most if you are not, doing what you do?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, Lwandile, thanks. I come from a very small rural town in called Lwandile, the Valley of Grace. It's a small town in the Overberg district. Very rural, very small. It's like a clean door, but it's not Afrikaans. So everyone knew everyone's business and those kind of things. But it was a quite knit community. I must say there was limited opportunities within that time. So I grew up there. I went to the local schools there in terms of primary and well as secondary. I completed my matric also at the local school there. But growing up, it was like a normal child. Just you play and you. It was like there's rivers we can go to. You can go catch fish with your own homemade sort of fishing equipment. We played a lot of rugby. We had our own team that we had for the boys in the street, and then we play against another team from another street. And so we grew up like that. But I think when I grew up, I would describe myself as an introvert. So I was always, I'm not a very talkative person. I'm sort of very quiet and down on earth in terms of that. So I think I'm introvert in that space. But what I love to do when I grew up as well, I always thought that I need to not get out of the town, but if you want to make something of yourself, you will have to go beyond. So that's why I left and tried to pursue certain avenues and studies, work. For me, always achieving things was a big deal back in the day. I was always in the sort of academically strong in terms of being in the top 10 in terms of those focus areas. So I was always committed to study and academics and so forth. And then when you get into varsity and stuff like that, you dabble into the social environment.
Yes.
The moment in Lwandile was limited opportunities to do things. Now,
I would imagine.
Suddenly you're in Cape Town.
Yes.
Oh, you went to UCT?
CPUT.
Or CPUT?
Yeah. You're in Cape Town and you're exposed to various sort of livings and environments.
I
and so
can
forth.
imagine. Long street.
So that was sort of a nice to get me out of my comfort zone in terms of that, and breaking the ice in terms of now maturing into sort of out of that small space, safe space we were in, into the big world that we are living now in terms of all of that.
And I imagine coming from that close-knit, town has played a huge role in who you are today, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I think you alluded to it earlier, is that I'm trying to sort of not be an ambassador, but trying to see that, to give hope to the children.
Yes.
Especially from not even Lwandile, all the rural areas that
There's
you can
a whole
do
lot
it.
of clay around the country.
That you can do it. Sometimes you're stuck into that kind of mentality that this is it.
Yes.
But
it's easy to get into that mentality.
Yeah. So
because of your
I'm saying it is possible.
Yeah.
To go out there and achieve in terms of that.
Oh, I love it.
How many siblings do you have?
I'm the youngest of two. I have an older brother. He's in Eastern Cape, lives in Eastern Cape. My mother's from Eastern Cape, so he's at home there.
Okay.
So only the two of us, 6 years apart in terms of age, the big brother.
So you as the last one, there's this thing that your parents listen to you, they don't. You don't experience that discipline that the firstborn experiences.
They say that.
Yeah, the rules are bent a little.
Yeah, no, it is probably because I think the first one it's a trial and error issue, and maybe
True.
I got the harsher part of it. And with the younger one, probably they're more lenient. I think in my case as well. I think my parents was a bit lenient towards this in terms of discipline and allowing certain things to happen.
And I'm glad that, usually the last ones never acknowledge that the parents were lenient.
No, they don't.
They
My younger
don't.
brother doesn't as
My
well.
younger brother doesn't too. And, with myself and my younger brother, we have a 10-year gap.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that my mom was very strict. Just doesn't know in my time.
Well, I suppose it's a natural progression of life. You tend to be overprotective with your firstborn.
Yeah.
But then later on, you have other children because it's something that you've done before. So
Yes, true.
you sort of put your foot off the pedal a bit.
Yeah, I got this. I've done this.
I think her explanation is, because I once told her that, explanation is you were a girl, he's a boy.
So that's the difference.
Okay. But, you took us through your background, your home background. Take us through your career journey until now. Include when you're taking us through your career journey, include your dreams. What were your dreams? And you can't achieve 100%, but where you are you 100, not maybe 60%, let's make it 60% happy and content about your career journey?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, firstly, before I start, I think it has been a quick journey for me in terms of going through the ranks and so forth. When I started studying, I completed my BTech in auditing, I think in 2009, cum laude. And then I just started to do an internship at one of the big 4 audit firms. I worked there, so that I think that is the basis for what came throughout the adult life in terms of that. After doing all the studies, but in the working, I was also studying because I always believe on continuous professional development in terms of enhancing yourself. And in a fast-paced environment that we live in, you need to sort of adapt. So after I was in Cape Town, after that, I moved back to Caledon. Caledon is the closest city to Lwandile. So I worked there as assistant internal auditor for about, I think, 3 years. And then I moved back to Cape Town to work at the province as a compliance auditor there. That's my first sort of senior role I had. Afterwards, I moved to Swellendam as also the head of internal audit there, and I worked there for the longest period. And now I'm at George Municipality as their chief audit executive now, and it's been a rough journey. But I think where I went and where I worked, the impact that I made there sort of allowed me to sort of just shoot and just go and just try and get new opportunities in terms of that. I think besides the qualification issue and the journey of getting to where I am, during that time, there was a lot of sort of challenges personally as well in terms of that. So it was the balance that was needed to be in line with my divine. Actually rhymes. But anyway.
Yes.
And so it was actually a quick journey in terms of studies. Complete the master's degree. I have a lot of certifications in terms of that, and I think doing that is to prove competence in terms of what you're doing, so that people can sit and listen when you speak. In terms of that.
So how would you're saying it was, in terms of your career, you moved the ranks quite quickly. What would be you advise a young person or also a person that is feeling stuck? What would you advise them to do in order to, what was your recipe for success? That's what they call it.
Yeah. No, I think there's a quote, I'm not sure who quoted it, where it indicates that when you're young, you must work to learn and not to earn. Because you see, I think the notion out there is that when you come out of varsity, you need to earn a lot of money and stuff like that, and just want the job and stuff. So my advice would probably be is to get to learn first, get to be the best, understand the business, understand what you're doing, trying to specialize in those areas, and then all the opportunities will come afterwards. And I think my journey is a testament to that, starting at the bottom and doing what is best in terms of or doing your best. You can get those situations where you're just doing work in terms of I'm getting paid for this, or sit for hours, 8 to 9, but sometimes you need to sort of push the boundaries and ask, how does this work? How does that work? So I think being inquisitive, asking and trying to just grasp, obtain knowledge, be the sponge that you are, just to obtain the knowledge, and I think that would assist you in your journey.
And JP, let's ask now, if you were not an internal auditor, right? What would you be and why?
I think from my side, I'd like to be in operations, in management side.
Okay.
And I think specifically strategic services or policy setting. The reason being is in that sort of space, you are influencing the business in terms of policy setting, strategic direction, and saying where you want to go. So in that case, I would like to be sort of a strategic manager or something like that, understanding the mandate of the organization I serve, and then plotting the ways how to sort of achieve it, and setting objectives, all of those stuff in place. If I were not that, I'd probably be in finance, like an accountant or CFO or something like that. But in the business side of it, if I'm not audited, just to make that decisions and providing guidance and direction to ensure.
It's probably my question, because now I don't want you also to come across as just academic audit. What are your hobbies? What do you do outside?
You know, that's a good question, and I think there's the balance.
Yes.
I actually don't
you have
specific,
got to show the balance.
Yeah, specific hobbies. But what I like is sport, and what I mean by sport is watching sport. So
playing soccer.
So rugby is it's a hobby of mine.
Yes.
I love watching rugby, either on the TV live or at the stadium. In George, we have Tunico Stadium, and a few big games get played there. So then we go out and watch the game in terms of that. Spending time with the family, I think it's one of my key things that I enjoy to do. And then just taking drives. I like to just clear my mind in terms of that. I'm still going to see now I need to dabble into either golf or cycling or whatever. But for now, I think what I'm doing is trying to balance it and just do things that I enjoy in terms of that. And I also read from time to time, but I think that's more academic.
No, I read a lot too. So I don't classify that as academic.
As long as you're not reading textbooks, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So going back to your certifications, I know you are CIA, you are PCIA, and lots of them. What is the importance of these certifications as an internal auditor? And how would you influence an internal auditor that is sitting at home watching this podcast? Maybe they've heard of CIA, but they've not actually shown any interest in it. How would you influence them to actually write the CIA? And especially the ones that are working in public sector. Yeah. I'm specifically mentioning the public sector because we are in the public sector
conference,
the forum. So just in case somebody is listening who is not a CIA but in the public sector, how would you influence them?
Yeah, I think when you talk about certifications, it deals with professionalism. So obtaining certifications and belonging to a professional body in itself speaks to your professionalism, and there's a notion going around now that we need to professionalize internal audit, and you'll do that by getting certified, doing designation in terms of that, and you also learn a lot through the process because it's not easy. It's tough in terms of doing it, but it's possible. And I think earning your CIA is sort of the premier designation for internal auditors.
Yeah.
It's globally recognized. So I think there's a lot of benefits on how to sell it and what benefits is it for you as an individual to obtain certification and professionalism, because it is a sort of a token or a badge of competence and sort of certifying you that you're able to do internal audit. And that's why I think when you go into the profession, the IISA has a career pathway that they've plotted out. And for maybe the young people listening out there, or people not yet certified, or just getting started in the career of internal auditing, is to just maybe get the whole of that document and try and see how you to get to a CIA level, or and there's a lot of processes and programs in place to assist young auditors from being a member, going up to doing the first level, which is IIT, and your PCIA, and then your CIA, and whatever the other specialized certifications there is as well. But I think in the public sector, being certified, it sets you apart from your peers. Right?
Yeah.
It gives you sort of an edge of advantage in terms of that this guy knows what he's talking about when you speak to sort of your stakeholders or your information in terms of all of those requirements. I think it's a token of respect, and token of that you know what you're talking about, and there's a whole lot of benefits of holding certifications in that perspective as well. So I would encourage it for all of the auditors to sort of to help us in professionalizing the internal audit profession, is to like join a professional body and have obtained the certifications as well.
Speaking of benefits, right? So now the month of May is Internal Audit Awareness Month, right? How would you sell it? Internal audit as a function, right, to other departments in the public sector specifically. Let's say you are the salesperson, you have to sell now internal audit.
Yeah.
How would you go about that?
Let's see, that's perfectly. I think the conference is at a very good time in terms of we are now in the heart of Internal Audit Awareness Month. It's a global sort of time where we can advocate and demonstrate the value of internal auditing. How you're doing it is different. You can do it in various different ways. What we did is, from our side, is we actually launched a campaign, awareness campaign, advocating the value of internal audit. But what also do is we need to understand that we need to sort of equip our departments in understanding what we're really doing. It's not about auditing, because I think they put internal audit in a bracket with external audit. And they think we like fault finders and nitpickers and stuff like that. So clarifying those myths is what we're doing now. Frequently asked questions, but also now introducing our team to the staff, asking them questions. Do they know who the CE is? And we had a few names, and most of them got it right in terms of that. And we have certain questions we can ask throughout the month of May, just to see where we get, and give them prizes and give awareness, just to also sort of encourage participation within the process. I think that understanding internal audit role is the way you can sell it, is that we are there to help you. We are a value-adding function. So there are more benefits to having internal audit in your department than not, because we're there to sort of have the efficiency, effectiveness processes in control. So it's almost like a doctor, you're going for a health check. So when we go there, we say, okay, this is you addict, and give you pain pills and stuff like that, and give you advice in terms of how we go forward. So I think if you sell the value proposition of internal audit and how it can benefit the department, I think that would also help in terms of them accepting internal audit as a partner.
Lovely. I think it's time.
I think so.
Before we move forward.
I actually was thinking of it.
Yeah, so we do this with all our guests. It's time for riddles. I'm just going to read a couple of them.
Okay.
Is it old ones? Are we testing that he was watching the old podcast?
No, we always have new riddles.
Okay. We need to
We
test
don't want to
that.
give away our secrets now.
Okay. Just in case, have you watched all the previous episodes?
Not all of them. Just a few.
I'm
Okay.
eyeing him. You need to watch all of them for your CPD hours.
So they will now encourage all other listeners to go watch all of the
Indeed.
podcasts.
So what is the end of everything?
It's a song.
What is the end? Is it the question? Is that the
Yes,
riddle?
that's the question. What is the end of everything?
Sounds
A
like
G.
a song.
It's a G.
It sounds like a song. Some lyrics in a song.
Okay. What kind of room has no doors or windows?
What room?
Yeah. Has no doors or windows. What kind of room is that?
A bedroom.
Yeah, but a bedroom
Bedroom
has
test.
Yeah,
doors.
it has windows. A server
How would
room.
you enter your bedroom?
A
without
server
it?
room. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it still has
A door to
still
get
has a door.
Oh, it has a door,
How will
not
the
a
IT
window.
people get in?
I don't know.
You know, with these things, you must think out of the box.
Yes.
It's never what you think.
But the
No.
room has no doors and no windows.
Yes.
I'm thinking of words rhyming with room, boardroom, groom.
You like rhyming words. I think
He's a rapper.
I think he likes hip hop, right?
He has not mentioned that he likes
He
hip-hop.
didn't.
But
And
ladies
I
and
expected
gentlemen,
that, right?
ladies and gentlemen, JP loves hip hop officially.
The rapper.
Yes.
I'm sure he can throw a line or two for
I
us,
know.
right? Okay, the
No, I give up.
answer
I give up. I give up.
is a mushroom.
No, that one.
Okay, the last one. Two in a corner, one in a room, zero in a house, but one in a shelter. What am I?
In a corner.
Two in a corner, one in a room, zero in a house, but one in a shelter.
Okay, I saw.
What am I?
Sure. Two in a room and one in the shelter. Is there a clue?
No, there's no clue.
The producer,
If I give you a clue, I'm gonna give you.
the producer gave you a clue.
But did she?
No. That's my day with the adults. What is it?
Well, there is a clue. It's a riddle. That's the clue.
This is a good one.
So it's the letter R.
R. Let's see how. Oh, we have people in the background. The crew.
Mm-hmm.
So the crew is just giving us clues.
I should go along.
Yep.
No, that's good.
Okay, I think back to the awareness month. We talked about the awareness month. IIA this year is 60 years, so it qualifies for SASA.
Yeah.
If you are currently a board member,
Yeah.
if you had an opportunity to change one thing, forget the whole governance voting rights. You are the only deciding person. What would you change with immediate effect?
Anything.
Anything. If you're given an opportunity to change anything.
I would make certification a mandatory requirement to practice internal audit.
And why is that?
Exactly my point in terms of we need to start professionalizing the profession. Currently, there's no sort of legislation or governing. So if you have a diploma, you can go practice as an intern auditor. There's interns saying the intern audit, and it's not that they are not competent in what they're doing, but I think that there should be a level of professionalism within the department. So a mandatory requirement to practice intern audit should be to be certified in any other relevant designation as well.
Did you hear how he responded to it without thinking?
I think it's a preempted answer.
Yes.
I think he had thought about this before.
And we didn't give him this question. Any questions, by the way.
Not.
So I think it just shows that the passion of certification is there in you.
Yeah.
And influencing others actually to do the certification, and you are the example of how it has worked for you.
Yeah, just the benefits.
Yeah. So let's go back in time.
Yes.
When I think it was before Jesus was born. Is it that
Ancient
time?
times, the ancient.
Very ancient. So according to the arcpeople.nl, it's an audit risk compliance website. the history and evolution of internal audit. So the word audit is originally Latin, and it meant to listen, or it means to listen. This terminology reflects the early practices of auditing. It focused primarily on verbal verification of financial information. So that's why I audit the verbal verification to listen. So originally, auditing was a process of hearing and then verifying your oral reports of financial transactions. So there was no documentation, nothing. So it was listening to listen. Knowing how we perform audits now in 2024, how would you think these auditors were performing their work? And how does it differ from the present times? You can answer this by providing maybe an example of an audit engagement methodology. Yeah. So what would be looking back and now, comparing the two eras?
Yeah, I think it's good in terms of the evolution of internal audit from where we were up until where we are now. Remember that speaking or obtaining verbal verification in terms of that is also an acceptable method of auditing evidence. Right? But it's the lowest in terms of the hierarchy, in terms of what value it can add in terms of that. So it was acceptable during that time, in the ancient times, to do those things. And it could be for various reasons. It could be a lack of knowledge, lack of tools, and maybe the trust level was very high in that part, which is quite different now.
So now they say trust God and audit the rest.
because I remember that was the only thing that I had. Is I gave you 100 and there's 100 and whatever the case may be, in those kind of issues. What we're doing now is it evolved completely. We have now various other methods of verifying evidence. And I think the most highest one is probably physical verification, to physically see the documents. I think that's the strongest hold in it. But there is secondary elements you can use to verify controls, verify documents, like documentary evidence, photographs, documents, financial statements, go through it in terms of that, look at a supporting document and stuff like so. We're auditing now at a much higher level in terms of what they did in the ancient times. So we're going into a space where you're saying, okay, it started there. We're still using it because I can still use the example that maybe I speak to the CFO and I said the CFO confirmed on this date, that and that. So it's still acceptable, but it's not the preferred method of verifying audit evidence in terms of that. So it might have been acceptable there, but now there's a lot of other elements, and we have more tools available to sort of analyze our data and come to conclusions in terms of that.
We're speaking of more tools, and now the language that is now in the auditors' tongues is AI, artificial intelligence, and how do we audit it? How would you influence an auditor now to educate themselves about the evolving technological tools?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we are already in the fourth. We've been pushed in the fourth.
Evolution
by COVID.
Pushed from all directions.
So we are there, and it's going to be the future. I think if you do not get tech savvy or understand software and do things, you will find yourself wanting in 5 years times in terms of everything will be that. You need to embrace robotics and automation and those kind of issues. Get to terms with what you're doing, because that's the way we're going to. They're gone be the days of physical verification of books and documents and stuff. It's going to be automated processes. So now really you need to upskill yourself in doing audits in a certain manner and embracing the technology we have. And it will only make your job easy as well.
So the website that Tlogi was referring to in the previous question, it gave us other examples of auditing in ancient civilization. Like in ancient Egypt, for instance, there were officials known as scribes who were responsible for recording and auditing the the income and expenses of the state and the temples that are there. They also performed audits by checking grain stores and other supplies, making sure that some quantities match the records that are recorded. This type of audit was essential for managing the empire's major agricultural and construction projects, right, such as the building of pyramids and the temples and so on. So, in line with that background, what would you say is performance audit? Does the example that we've just illustrated meet the criteria, right, of performance audit? And if you were to be the CAE in Egypt, what recommendations would you have as the audit department?
Yeah, I think when you take it back to the previous question,
yes,
right? Where in those times, ancient times, verbal verification was acceptable. Now in this example, they're writing now.
Yes.
There's
some sort of
so there was
evolution.
involvement. So actually
Yes.
moving onto it. So now they're using stuff and very. I think it's good that we have something to build on, and you can see that it grew over the times in terms of that. But coming back to the question of performance auditing, if you know performance auditing is a word, I think we should differentiate between the audit of performance information
Yes.
versus performance auditing. Just touching on the audit of performance information, it is when we verify performance reported. For example, I wanted to build a bridge. The bridge will be built by the 30th of June. We then go in and verify whether that what you reported is actually true or not. So we're verifying the information that was reported. Performance auditing for me deals with what we call the 3 E's.
Yes.
Efficiency, effectiveness, and economy. And there might be some elements within, though, that example that touches on these 3 E's. Like economy is now, you must get the sort of the right equipment, right resources, the right price at the right time, and those issues. So it might be that they need certain rocks or a type of issue in terms of building it. So looking at it from economy scale, it could be that it could fit into the economy part of it when they did that checks of the equipment and the sand and whatever they need to build the pyramids in terms of that. The other part is efficiency. Efficiency is for me if I think about the old times, you're referring to ancient times. If you think about the Flintstones, right? They had some mode of transport, for example. And what if they used squares for their wheels, right?
Yeah.
And they used like 10 guys need to push it. So you go to one level and then another level. Effectiveness come in when you say, okay, now let's use squares, let's use round circles, because then it will go quicker and we will need less people doing it. So it's getting to that space where we sort of get the right resources, either human resources, capital to get to the quality product at the end of the day. And it could be that those guys said, okay, we need so many layers of this, layers that, and so many people building it in terms of that and efficiently, effectively trying to roll it out. And ultimately, last one is the effectiveness of it is the product what we intended it to be. Are we achieving our objectives with the outcome of the project, of the product? So if I was a CEO of Egypt in that in that time, I would have sort of tried to bring those 3 elements within the processes that are currently in place with the scribes, recording transactions, looking at how we can sort of enhance it, and maybe from that stage move it to the next level in terms of the transition of internal audit.
Before I move to the ancient times.
I just thought that working papers used to be actually for file at some point. And we used to carry them to the different clients.
I don't know if you can relate, but we used to carry stuff.
Yeah, that's
we used to do that. That's how we reference the working papers.
And it might still be applicable in some instances.
Sure, that's it though. In 2024. Let's pack the questions. We're talking in ancient times. You have an aunt who is very old, 50 years.
Okay.
She is deciding to quit her job and be a pole dancer. What advice would you give her? Not a stripper, a pole dancer.
50 years old.
50 years. Very ancient. We are in the ancient times, right?
No, I would not advise her to do that.
What are you going to say? So have that, I'm that aunt who's 50. Have that conversation with me. Convince me. I'm very much convinced that, I can work that pole. I am hot. I can make more money than my normal 95.
Oh, okay. I'll say aunt. I think.
Hi, auntie. 100.
Yeah. So, I'm a very straightforward person, so I would just say that's not gonna work. It's not. It's
Not gonna work. You know what my advice would be?
Yes.
Life begins at 50.
Yes.
Go for it. Do it.
I love that.
I was thinking I'm gonna tell her because remember in ancient times they were a lot of they were aware about what people said about them or about their status or thing. I'll say no, the people's gonna scunner about you and make jokes and stuff like that. So
And yes, you're right.
you have a reputation now to
They're
keep
really wary of what people say.
so I'll use that angle and say hey, they're gonna talk about you in church.
I like how the two gentlemen actually have. One is saying,
Go for it.
go for it. One is saying, no.
You only live once. Go
Yeah.
for it. Do it. Why not?
It's also for your safety. You can break, you can fall. Because you're 50 years. So
And if you fall, chances are you can even die, not even get linked in hospital.
that's a good word.
Back to our questions now. In classical Greece, there existed public officials. They were known as logistai, who were charged with auditing other officials. After completing their terms, officials were required to submit a detailed report for accuracy and integrity. So, give us a breakdown of the 3 lines of defenses, their roles, and importance of having them. Do you think this method of auditing was helping organizations achieve its objective? And if not, with this, obviously they had limited resources. How would you have done it better?
Yeah. Okay, firstly, I think I don't like the word defense. So I'll replace it with the word assurance. Let's talk
3
about,
lines of assurance.
yeah, let's talk about 3 lines of assurance. The first line being management.
Yes.
Right. So management is the first line of defense that they need to institute certain controls.
Assurance, not defense.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah. So the first line of assurance.
Yes.
And they need to institute controls, and we need to trust them because they are in charge of the business, in charge of their processes. So that's fine. And they are the first line of assurance. The second line of assurance for me relates to the support functions. So your IT, your legal, your compliance, your risk management, performance, those that assist the first line in performing the duties and somehow providing assurance on the risks, but limited assurance in terms of that because they're not independent. And then the third line of assurance is the independence part of it, where internal audit, external audit comes in. There's a lot of models going around in terms of how you can package combined assurance. Right? Get 3 lines of defense, get 3 lines of assurance,
yes.
you get 5 lines.
Get 4 lines.
So it depends on the organization in terms of what would fit for that, because you can have oversight bodies included there as well as a 4th line.
Yes.
So it is you can play with it around, and I think it's what would to be best for that organization, because you need to know why you're implementing combined assurance. For what purpose is it there? Is it for duplication of audit work or the stakeholders using it to see if there's sufficient coverage, where there's over coverage, under coverage, and so forth. So it depends on the organization and the benefits, or why they would want to implement a combined assurance approach in terms of that. What is the other part of the question again? I know the first part was to just give a view on.
Do you think this method of audit was helping organizations achieve its objectives?
In terms of combined assurance,
Yes.
It depends on the reasoning why the logistai audited those officials, the public officials, and it depends on the criteria also that was used. So if the objective of the audit was to ensure that all your targets have been met during your term, because they do it at the end of the year. They need to submit a sort of a detailed report on what they did probably in their term, which is an acceptable request in terms of being accountable in terms of that. So it could be, if the objective was to ensure that to measure performance of that public official, maybe to be re-elected or be reinstituted or something. I think it is a good mechanism in terms of verifying information at the end of the term, submitting that report. But those people need to be independent from the guys they're auditing.
And you mentioning combined assurance, a topic that's another topic that is on everybody's lips, but it's not implemented yet in many organizations. So people are talking about it, but implementation will be zero. What would you say to management, because it's not an audit responsibility to be implementing it? How would you influence organizations to implement it? What are the benefits of combined assurance? And how would you position it? Because currently, if you listen to people, they think that combined assurance is internal audit. It's like what we do in our audit projects, we need to be doing combined assurance. But how would you influence and show them perspective of what combined assurance is? How do you influence them to think that it's an organizational-wide concept?
Remember, when selling anything, you first need to look at the benefits of the specific thing. What will benefit the client organization? But I have a different view of combined assurance. I think my view is combined assurance is embedded in any organization.
Yes.
Right? It's not just documented yet on a proper framework and communicated in, because management is there. Your compliance, your risk, they are there. That perhaps they don't understand their role within the process in terms of it, but they are in place. Those assurance functions are already there in place. So in trying to sell it to the audit committee or to management in implementing a sort of a framework or formalizing the process, we need to firstly look at the benefits of combined assurance. And there's a lot of benefits of combined assurance. We know it now. The accounting officer or the stakeholders can actually understand how the risks are being covered. Because normally when you do combined assurance, you will only probably do it on the top strategic risks that would hamper the organization for achieving their objectives. So it will give them like a bird's view in terms of where the assurance is provided. The audit committee or the CAE can actually see where there's over assurance provided. For example, if there's a risk of fraud, for example, it's a high risk probably. We can see that management has controls in place, there's policies, they have awareness, they have workshops, they have do a lot of things. Risk management do their things, they do investigations on certain areas. Internal audit also comes and do investigations, so they can say, okay, this is actually over audited, or there's too many assurance providers, and maybe you should relook at or reposition other areas in terms of how we can address the other risks. So we can see where we over auditing, where there's over coverage, but also the areas that it's under coverage, where we can do that. So there's benefits for that, and our plan can be aligned in terms of having combined assurance and the idea for that in some case.
I like how you phrase the defining the different roles and the fact that combined assurance is already in a lot of organizations. So what I find often is a challenge is that people generally are defensive of their roles, right? Secondly, people they are scared of their roles being redefined. So now once you start coming with this big English of combined assurance, people think now you want to change how I do things.
Yes, true.
And that's not necessarily the case. It's actually looking at what you're doing and streamlining it to make sure that we don't duplicate efforts, because that's the whole point of combined assurance.
I fully agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So let's maybe just go to the last empire, the Roman Empire. Since we've been in Egypt and Greece, now let's go to Roman Empire in the interest of time. So in the Roman Empire, auditors and what's this word now? Quaestors were appointed to oversee financial affairs of the state. Now, these questors were tasked with recording revenues and expenditure, ensuring the integrity of state finances. The role included both collecting taxes and controlling government spending. So, in this context, what does independence mean to the internal auditors? Do you think the auditors in ancient Rome were independent? What is the difference between internal auditors' independence and organizational independence?
I think the first finding I would give the Greece empire there is that there's no segregation of duties within the processes.
Yes.
But coming back to the question in terms of independence, especially in organization, you need to differentiate between organizational independence and then the individual independence. And I think in our case, our standards are very clear in terms of how we need to protect our independence, because we need to guard against our objectivity and independence as internal audit, because we are trusted advisors and we need to provide an objective opinion on these matters. So the standards allow for what we call a dual reporting line, that we report functionally to the board or the audit committee in terms of that. Our reporting line functionally means that they approve our plan, the audit committee approve our plan. It's an independent committee outside of the organization, independently with independent committee members. So they approve a plan, we report to them, and they report to either council or the board of directors or whatever the case may be. Where in the other side of the organizational independence relates to administrative reporting, and the standards make provision for that. The internal audit function needs to be in a space that they report to someone with authority. It is advisable that it should be the CEO or the accounting officer in terms of that. So, but that's administratively just dealing with HR, admin stuff, leave, and those kind of issues. But the reporting line will be sort of to the audit committee in terms of function, and these should be stipulated in your charter to protect yourself and ensure that we remain independent in terms of that. I don't agree that internal audit should reside under a department, because that would immediately sort of have a perceived impact on independence. Because when they audit within a department, it probably be an issue because they're reporting to the FD or whatever the case may be in terms of that. With individual independence, I think that's a more on an auditor level where ethics also comes in. And sort of disclosing those requirements. We know you can't engage in certain activities at a certain period, or if you have a vested interest within that department or the activity process being reviewed. So there should be mechanisms in place to sort of safeguard or protect your individual independence in terms of that as well. And we have a lot of issues. You can sign declaration, issues. We have the code of ethics if you do something wrong, stuff like that. So there's guidance available to protect that individual independence as well as a person doing auditing work for other departments. In that case, I think there's they are doing the same work, collecting. That's too much. There should be segregation of duties. They can't collect and then they also account for it in terms of that. It must be someone independent saying that, okay, you've collected so many money in terms of that. So I think there's an independence issue there. Might be, in my view. And it could be resolved with instituting certain sort of safeguards and measures or controls to sort of address the independence part of it. Because independence is something that internal audit needs to protect.
Yes.
Is it the current practice, though, in public sector, the independence, are they making sure that internal audit is reporting functionally to the audit committee, administratively to the CEO? Is it the current practice? And are the individuals independent or declaring their independence if not conforming to the standard?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think in general, in public sector, there's a good understanding as where internal audit is positioned, right? But there should still be safeguards in place in terms of having your charter approved, defining those responsibilities. In theory, it's good and it's working. There might be practical challenges on the ground because remember, you report functions to the audit committee, you see them but minimum 4 times a year.
Yes.
You most of the time you deal with the CEO. So there is some practical challenges on it. But if everyone understands their role and responsibility in terms of what needs to be done, that's clear. So my first thing is that it should be defined, that everyone knows what's going on in terms of boundaries and where we are in terms of that. And I think the standards also, what they like very much of the new standards is they speak about professional courage. So we need, as professionals, need to know when we need to not stand up for ourselves, but we need to communicate effectively and have the courage to indicate, no, I can't do this, or this is going to impede my independence or objectivity in terms of that. But in general, I think we understand our areas of responsibility in the public sector in terms of independence organizationally as well as the individual independence. And I think it will be strengthened through quality reviews because we need to comply with the standards.
Yeah.
So if there's an issue in terms of independence, our auditors not declaring the interest correctly or annually, or even at the audit engagement level, you also need to declare in terms of independence. So there's a lot of structures and processes in places that could work, and that's for the QA so important to ensure and identify where are those gaps in terms of compliance and so forth.
Awesome. Let's close. I think we've come to the end of our interview.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it, but time is unfortunately not on our side.
And thank you, JP.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. I fully enjoyed myself as well.
Really?
Yeah. I fully enjoyed myself. You know, it's like just chatting in terms of that. So I love it. And the comparison of the old time was new time.
Yes.
The evolution is so powerful in terms
So
of that.
you evolved in an hour.
I involved as well from that's ancient to now.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are wrapping up our interview with JP. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Please do check out the upcoming events from the IIA, like your youth conference that's happening sometime later in the year, and also the national conference that's happening around August. Please do look out for that, and please join. For those of you that have missed the Public Sector Forum, please look out for the next year's dates. It will be interesting as this one. Hope you enjoy it. And with that, thank you and goodbye.